Buenas tardes, señor Volker, es un honor tenerlo en el Festival de Cine de Morelia. Bienvenido. Me gustaría que nos contara un poco, cuando presentó su película, decía que haber llegado a Morelia le había recordado su visita a México cuando estuvo aquí hace 40 años. ¿Qué recuerdos le trae esta visita?
Well, Mexico has changed, obviously. It was a bit more of the Wild West in the early 60s. Obviously, everybody was carrying a gun. My girlfriend had 2 guns. She had a Colt 45 and a Dillinger. And when I asked her what for, she said, "En caso." So I know there's more violence now than there used to be, but it is not this kind of, let's say, cinema Wild West Mexico anymore. It's a very modern state. I'm very impressed by how everything works and functions. You know, you're almost more Prussiani than us, you know, more Prussian. And still there is this wonderful specific feeling of being in Mexico. It's very kind, amabile. Yeah, I like it.
Lo que él está diciendo es que el México actual es muy diferente al México anterior, que era más como del oeste, donde portaban armas. De hecho, la novia que él tenía 2 armas, una Colt y otra de otra marca, y le dijo, cuando él le preguntó que para qué las tenía, dijo que por si acaso. Ahora dice que el México actual es más preciso, como que ya todo marcha sobre ruedas, a pesar de que está enterado y que está de acuerdo en que hay violencia, pero es un México diferente al de aquella época.
Ha comentado en varias ocasiones que le gusta mucho retratar el periodo de las guerras porque es la época en la que usted vivió y porque es los momentos en los que se dan las situaciones más extremas para contar una historia. ¿Qué es lo que usted más recuerda de su infancia durante ese periodo de guerras?
Well, first of all, when I say that the wartime produces more extreme situations where human beings have to find more of their qualities, I'm speaking of Germany. I'm not speaking of Mexico.
Yes.
I think there is more violence here now than you need. The war on drugs is even worse than any other war because it's a civil war. It is within a society, and I certainly would not joke in any ways about this. I really hope that it can be overcome. It's like a cancer in the society, and maybe the only way out is to legalize all drugs, like with the prohibition time, you know. But then there is a problem because people will take drugs if they're legalized. So the challenge for society would even be greater, because then they would have to see that people have such a life that they won't need drugs and they won't go for it, you know. So it's a tricky thing. Growing up as a child, I've seen a lot of violence because it was born in '39. My remembrances, I was 5, 6, 7 years old. That's the time when you have your first memories. And of course, I remember, corpses in the street, people who hung themselves on trees. I've seen my mother burning. I've seen entire cities being bombed and burning at the horizon, and people saying, "Oh, the flames are so bright we could read the newspaper," in 10 kilometers distance. As a child, you're not impressed by this. This is like the story of Oscar in the Tin Drum. Mm-hmm. You don't know the world different. You think this is the way the world is. And if so many people are dying, you know, it seems the normal thing to do. It's like in the fairy tales, there are horrible things, you know, they slit open the belly, they put stones in, they sew it, they throw him in the pit. They cut off feet of Cendrillon and whatnot, you know. So children sometimes can cope with violence better than grown-ups. The problem is when these children are grown-ups, then they have to come to terms with the violence they had seen, and it only slowly start to doom on them. I think I started to realize and to mourn the loss of my mother when I was about 30, 35 years old. Before that, it didn't touch me. So I think in Mexico today, you know, children in certain parts of towns and in these violent or even more in other parts of the world, all these children one day will be grown-ups and they will have to cope with it. And they may not have the privilege of being an artist, and they can transform their, you know, their sorrow or the work on their loss into a thing. I remember when we were shooting with Sam Shepard, the Homo Faber in Paris, and he had this meal with Julie Delpy, and then he was very much in love with her and vice versa, but they were about to part, and he says goodbye, and he leaves the cafe, and we were shooting, so I say cut, and wait for him to come back to do another take, and he didn't come back, so I went outside, and I saw him at the street corner, you know, leaning against the wall, like, I didn't know, was he sobbing or what? I mean, Sam Shepard sobbing? Impossible. And I go over and ask him, Sam, is everything okay? And he turned around and he said, yes, but I just realized I could not tolerate another loss in my life. Wow. So you see, this is, we have the privilege, he by playing the part, probably whatever loss he was referring to, me working on the film, we can overcome that. The audience, or let's say people who cannot actively do it, well, they need to find this experience when they come to the movie theater.
Su cine, a pesar de estar contado en los periodos de guerra, siempre tiene unas profundas historias de amor y mucha sensualidad en ellas. ¿Por qué le gusta tanto explorar estos temas?
No, I mean, love is the one shattering experience we can have. If it happens 2 or 3 times in a lifetime, so much the better. But that also means so much more betrayals. But I mean, I don't think I could ever make like just a romantic comedy or so. I don't think I've ever done a love story. I mean, there are love stories in the stories of my movies, but like in real life, they only make 10%. I think I have to go.
Thank you very much.